Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Today is truly extraordinary. 20,000 people around the world would either be in Lausanne or one of the 50 other locations around the world or in our online universe to talk about Cardano. We are talking about developers, ambassadors, SPOs, builders, everybody in a very, very tough time where questions are being asked about the foundations of blockchain. They are coming together as a beacon of light to build, explore, and engage with one of the best platforms out there, and that's Cardano. Day one today is what we call the value creation layer. We're talking about the foundation. What is the infrastructure of Cardano? We're talking about DITs, we're talking about the future of Web3. We're talking about open source and how open source can lead to the next development of the technology roadmap and ensuring a product to market fit. Tonight is all about you. It's the first inaugural award show where you have selected the projects, you have voted on the projects, and you're going to celebrate the best businesses and the best projects all here tonight. Tomorrow is about you. We wanted to show that Cardano is not about the Cardano Foundation. It's not about IoG, it's not about Imurgo. It's about the people, the blockchain citizens, the Cardano citizens who live on the blockchain every single day. So tomorrow is shaped by you, is delivered by you, is voted and verified on mainnet by you. And we're going to get extremely interesting things spanning the whole width from ESG to applications, from regulations to DEXs. It's going to be super exciting to see so many projects. And for those of you who are live here or somewhere in the world, to meet each other and engage, to build those projects better, to distribute those projects, to challenge those projects, to ensure that whatever comes out of tomorrow is a much more vibrant value capture layer on top of Cardano. It is for you. Isn't that exciting? Yeah, right? Now, I have to admit, sort of 2.5 years, 3 years ago, I entered a journey with Cardano. And the first thing we did was actually to engage with a project called Midnight. I believe yesterday, Charles, for the first time, publicly spoke about Midnight. About a year later, I joined the Cardano Foundation. And it's been a rocky ride. We came from somewhere to some place. Now, that place is just the beginning. And I think what's really important to think about is, what is the Cardano Foundation, and why is the Cardano Foundation there? So let me spend a few words about reflecting on that, and all the staff from the Cardano Foundation who's here today and tomorrow would happily engage with you on that as well. So at the origin of an idea to change the world, to change financial and social systems, the original founders came together and they raised money based on a whiteboard video and based on the motivation to really change by using exponential technology such as permission public blockchain. A little bit later, the Cardano Foundation in the first version came about. Now, the Cardano Foundation is a consequence of the original founders. It is not the owner. It doesn't control the Cardano blockchain. We are a consequence of the founders and of the community. We are a Swiss foundation, and to ensure that there was some balance and accountability in an ecosystem which was a bit the wild, wild west. I think we can all agree on that, who's been there 5, 6, 7 years ago. The idea was that we wanted to have, or the founders wanted to have a non-biased entity who could not be taken over, who was secured to keep fighting the long battle, the battle of promoting decentralized technologies such as Cardano, enabling decentralized public blockchains such as Cardano, talking to the regulators, creating pathways for an ecosystem to flourish. But an ecosystem can only flourish if they find value. And you will only invest in finding value if you have certainty about reliability, predictability, and the future of the blockchain. We've been working hard for the last 24 months to create a team of dedicated people in the Cardano Foundation whose everyday task is to talk to people who's integrating on Cardano, specifically the people which we rely on to use the public permissionless blockchain. We've been working very hard on to ensure that when people learn blockchain, they don't just learn blockchain using Bitcoin, even though I love Bitcoin. They learn blockchain based on the third generation idea of a blockchain. We need to have multiple types of identity, multiple types of values, and multiple types of governance who can be deployed in different situations. Therefore, I'm extremely proud today to announce that we are opening the Alpha project, or the Alpha sign-up for our new educational platform, which will be free to use. It's in English. It will take you from zero blockchain knowledge to Plutus and Haskell knowledge. It will allow you to take it and use it for whatever you want. So if you are sitting in Argentina, in Chile, or in Hong Kong, you will now have up-to-date content in English you can translate and use in your application landscape to talk to your community and start breaking down the path that blockchain only is about one type of identity, one type of value, and one type of governance. Isn't that exciting? So if you want to be a part of that journey, you go to the Cardano booth, the Cardano Foundation booth outside here, or you go into the virtual lodge, and you sign up for the Alpha. And when I say Alpha, this is about you actually being exposed to the first of this content and having your say and your view on if the delivery is correct, seeing if you can find an error or two, but ensuring that what we got is something who can teach the world that blockchain is here to stay, and it will change the foundations of the application landscape, not just for IT infrastructure, but for social systems at all. Now, further to that, we're going to do a large announcement of what we call an impact challenge. So we've been working in the basement for a long time, and I think there was a or some people were talking about it yesterday, but a global for good organization who is really fighting out there in small and medium income countries every single day is going to announce, basically a use case, but not just a use case, a change of how they do things to enable blockchain to come into the foundations of how we are trying to save humanity. So I really urge you to stay tuned when that announcement is coming. And that will be the second Global Impact Challenge led by the Cardano Foundation. Now, further to that, we saw yesterday that we entered the age of Voltaire. I don't know about you, but I've been looking so much forward to actually starting the transformational governance journey from a federated blockchain to a truly decentralized blockchain. It's going to have 4 elements into it. And I'm mostly excited, but not only excited about the first element. Since 9 months, we've been looking at the economic sustainability of the Cardano blockchain. It is so that many blockchains is made with an end of runtime. And that's on purpose, because there needs to be a certain amount of time for the blockchain to truly show the value of its promise. Now, but what happens if that value doesn't come? Or what happens if the economic factors changes? So we set forward to explore what the world of open source has built since the 80s. How can it be that open source is the foundation of most development work in engineering today, and it's the foundation of the internet? And there is no decentralized treasury. There is no direct funding to those operating models. So how do we bring the best of decentralized innovation into the best technology stack in blockchain out there made by IoT? And how do we ensure that economic sustainability? And that yesterday was presented as a membership-based organization where we can explore the idea of merging decentralized innovation with what the stake pool operators does every single day, which is decentralized operation of our blockchain. Merging those two things and starting the discussion with you today, over this weekend and the weeks to come, about how we can do that, which has never been done before, to ensure that not just the Cardano blockchain, but the IT architectural stack, so the whole software stack which comes into the Cardano blockchain over time, becomes the most interoperable, has the best standards, and ensures that even if you don't use the mainnet, you start using basically the software stack, which later comprises of Cardano. That will bring us to better interoperability, it will bring us to a better economic sustainability, and it will ensure that whatever use case people are building out there, whose over time is going to be their bread and butter, is going to be how they survive, is going to be how they contribute to their local communities, that they have the assurance that they can sit with the table and start prioritizing what projects, what technology, what features is needed for them to have the best market to product fit, and also having that in the years to come. It cannot just be one single entity or one little group of people taking those big architectural decisions for the Cardano blockchain. So that is a start of a discussion, which we call the MBO. The second part is the constitution. When we look into why the Cardano community is different from many other communities, it's the purpose, it's the values. And the same goes with the Cardano Foundation. Most of the people who work in the Cardano Foundation, they work there, and we ask them, why are you actually spending so much time there, and why are you doing that? And they all come back with more or less the same versions of an answer. It is because we don't accept status quo. We don't accept how the world is at the moment, and we want to be part of using change, enabling change, doing that through blockchain and associated technologies. Now, the difference between Bitcoin and Cardano is that Bitcoin is a stable blockchain who should have as little change as possible to enable a very strong use case about basically capturing value, transacting, and so forth. Cardano is made for change. If you have something that's made for change on a mainnet where already thousands of companies are living, you need to have ability to ensure that that change is coming as the world is changing. As we see new technologies, we need new bridges. So the Cardano Constitution is a way where you need to interact, you need to participate right now to the SIPs who's coming out, who's basically talking about how do we ensure that the ethos, the purpose of Cardano can stay true, even though the technology stack will see exponentially change as more and more companies will work on the infrastructure together with IoT. It's never been the role of Cardano Foundation to do the infrastructure. It is the role of the Cardano Foundation to be the hub of change, but also the certainty that Cardano will exist in the generations to come. So the Constitution is one of those big action points where I really urge you, whether you are in the lodge, whether you are in Dubai, or you are in Chile right now, or you're in Lausanne, we need to start talking about how do we do a constitution, and how do we make it so clear that a computer can read it, and we can protect the ethos of what Cardano really is about, while still getting as much change as possible. The third thing is on-chain governance. We have the most decentralized blockchain out there, but it is not decentralized enough. We need to ensure that we can protect the blockchain while still enable these change factors. So the on-chain governance is about key distribution. We don't need BFT keys. We can design a way out of that. And if we still end up having those kind of keys, we need to ensure that these are distributed among multiple entities for common accountability towards those changes, but also to protect for cybersecurity attacks and other attacks around that. We need to have on-chain governance on mainnet. We need to have a place where the community, the ADA holders, the people who rely on the blockchain actually can go in and vote and see the ballot and verify that other people also voted. We need to have different ways of taking those decisions, and we need to ensure that it's not always the people who has the largest economic incentive, but sometimes it's the people who is using every single day to build on the chain, who needs a certain feature, which is so complex that you need to have 2 PhD degrees to even understand what it is. Therefore, we need DREPs and other things to ensure that you can delegate representation, and you have quadratic voting and other mechanisms in place. This on-chain voting and the systems about that is the only way we can move from the federated and single situation we have today into a place where we can really truly open the door. But you cannot do that without actually having the constitution. So those two things go hand in hand. And the last, sometimes we say, is the liquid democracy. Very frequently we see democracy today is standing a little bit in wake, right? You vote on a politician and they represent you for 4 years or 10 years, and it's really hard to change them and so forth. The blockchain don't need to be like that. We today already have systems like Hydra and Mainnet, which allows us to capture and change our DREP and our delegations whatever voting system we are working on. So we need much more voting systems on the Cardano mainnet. So the age of Voltaire is truly here, and we're kicking that off with this Cardano Summit. So now it is time for you to positively engage and say, we want that, but we don't want this. But you cannot go in and say, we just don't want that. You need to come with suggestions. Only by coming with suggestions and participating in this feedback loop, we will be able to start the discussion from where we are today and end up in a situation where the promise of Cardano for the people who live on Cardano, for the people who rely on Cardano, and for the people who need to rely on Cardano in the ages to come, will be a truth. Now, that's a lot. And that's complicated. But that's why we have ambassadors. That's why we have stake pool operators. That's why we have the guild. That's why we have these institutions who are springing up right now, because they're getting specialized in certain things. And we need to support those institutions, but sometimes we also need to realize that if we don't have the time to support those institutions, well, at least we can ensure that we vote, right? So at least you can ensure that you vote in Catalyst, you vote through delegating to single stake pool operators and multi-stake pool operators, but not just to the yield voting, right? So anything you can do, even in your small capacity, that ushers your voice and your opinion in a positive, creative manner, is what the community needs right now. And the largest part, what we really need, is we need a journey. We need a journey of proving to the world, specifically right now, that cryptocurrencies is amazing. But what the blockchain and the blockchain utility is going to do, enabled by ADA and other native assets, that's going to change what we have taken for given in terms of operating models for the last 100 years. It's going to give a voice to the people who don't have a voice. It's going to give access to the people who today only have access 5 to 10 kilometers around them. In many ways, it's going to challenge regulation. It's going to challenge established institutions. It's going to change the role of intermediaries. The intermediaries will have a complete new role. And that's a mind change. When we're doing this, we are not challenging the fabric of society, we're challenging the minds of society. When we are crying out to people and saying, you need to engage, we know that's going to be rowdy, we know that's going to be loud, right? But by having a blockchain and having accountability among that, and ensuring that people come together in locations like that and physically can meet each other, can give each other a high five, and talk about those things in a creative, positive note, well, that's really what Cardano is about. That is what enables change. Cardano is not a technology stack. Cardano is the people who believe in the technology stack and builds on that technology stack. Thank you very much for coming, and I wish you all a fantastic event, and let's do this.